Hey, Nene.
Hey, love, how are you?
I'm good.
Hey, Christy.
Hey. This is so weird doing it on my phone. Thanks to
I think we're still waiting.
technology.
No worries, no worries. Leah. Hey, love, how are you?
you?
Just fine.
Good.
What's going on, Janoy?
Hey, what's up? Can y'all hear me okay?
No, turn your volume up.
Hold on.
Awaiting Vincent. I think he is having a hard time with. Uh-oh, hold on.
Can you hear me better now?
Oh, yes,
He's having.
much better.
Okay.
Yes, can hear you.
Okay.
We are waiting on Vincent Powell. What's going on, everybody? Can y'all hear me?
We can.
Oh, we can hear you loud and clear.
We can hear you.
First of all,
I
Kirsten,
can
don't
hear
come for
you.
me.
It's just breaking up weird.
I'm breaking up.
No, there's a lot of echo, though.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of feedback.
There's a lot of feedback on
Yeah,
my
like,
end.
I'm
I
not
just
getting
hear.
any feedback.
Say that
Okay.
again?
I hear echo, not feedback, but just like.
Okay. For those that are tuned in, can y'all hear us? Is there any echoes? Please let me know. There's Vincent.
Hey, hey.
Yo. Uh-oh. Hold on. Let me see how to do this. Somebody's missing. Somebody is missing. Somebody missing. Oh no, we're good. We're good. Hey, y'all, there's an echo. I'm not sure who it's on. So can y'all put your ears in?
Oh, let me grab some ears.
What's going? Okay, Diana say there's no echo.
I don't hear an echo.
You don't? Okay. Nobody here.
I don't
Man,
hear
y'all,
I don't hear an echo. I hear sounds like you're talking underwater.
huh?
I think it's Christy's connection because I don't
Sounds
get
like
an
you guys
echo.
are talking underwater. I don't know if it's because have to use my phone.
Yeah, it might be yours because also her mouth is delayed on my end as well.
Agreed. Christy, you're a little delayed on my end as well.
See, I can't hear you. Could you even understand
Poor
what I
Christy.
said?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just like a stat. So, yeah, it's like
Try logging out and logging back on and maybe turning your Wi-Fi off.
yeah.
Wait, I can't do what?
Try turning your Wi-Fi off and closing out of the StreamYard and come back.
Lord, give us strength to use this Prime phone right now, Lord.
Prime
Help us
code.
do it.
Come
So the volume
on.
is up.
Come on, 1998. Summon
Help us do it, Lord.
thing and contact.
Oh my God.
Astro World is still standing.
All right, Christy.
But it's
All
like,
right. Okay, so Carla said it's better. Jim said yes, I think it's Christy's connection. Diana said I can hear Christy. Okay, so here we are. Oh my God, what it do? Y'all thought y'all was on here for something else, but now that I got y'all on here, I want to share something with y'all. Actually, we're not talking about what y'all thought we were talking about. I'm about to come through real quick.
Okay.
I'm about to freestyle.
Oh
Okay.
Lord. So this is a concert.
As long as we don't have to popcorn the freestyle, I'm
Now, see, I would have thought Vincent would have been the one to like really say something because Vincent always trying to cap on somebody, y'all.
I'm not going to do that. This is your platform. I am here to support you. And people don't have to know how I treat you behind closed doors.
Oh, y'all, I'm telling you, Vincent is a mess, y'all. He is a mess. Hey, but y'all, Christy, did you just? Okay, Christy, I see that you.
Completely.
Yeah, she might get
Okay. Father, help us. Let's see.
Leah, you look amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So good to see you.
Cut it all off.
Yeah, I love it. I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Now let's see how this goes. Let me go back and add her on to this one. All right, Christy. Christy. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Nope, not today.
Christy is what it sounds like. I
No,
know,
ma'am.
No.
Push mute, Christy. Like you're gonna probably have to go in your car or something with your phone for your Wi-Fi or something, because this ain't gonna work. It's
Now let me try.
no, ma'am.
Let me try to just log in on my computer with. Could I just do it with the microphone and no video? Because my microphone seems to be working fine.
Okay. Well, you may have to use your phone and go in a car if you can get like reception like from your phone from the actual service, because there's a pickup, like there's an echo. So like right now you're gonna have to mute your phone and there's a delay. Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to get yourself together.
Go get you some string, a paper clip, and some Windex.
Okay, so we're gonna try something.
All right. So anyways, while Christy is trying to
Okay,
figure
I'm
that
gonna
out, while Christy, mute your mic, dear. Mute your mic. While you're doing that, Christy, mute your mic.
Okay.
Okay, so while Christy is getting her life together, I want to thank you guys for like just agreeing to being a part of this panel. We all know what the conversation is about. We all know that it's unfiltered. We all know that there's an issue, and we are here to be the change we want to see and to make a difference. And I had to literally recharge myself today because I have been an emotional wreck. And it's been like a wave for me. So I'm just gonna open this up and just share with you why I invited Christy. And that's gonna open up the conversation. Christy, can you please push mute, dear? You gotta push mute on your phone. So can y'all hear me now?
It's muted.
No, it's not, dear. She said it's muted. She's like, it's me.
I think it was. She just unmuted it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to share with y'all why I invited Christy. And this is just to open this whole conversation up. And I so appreciate her for actually coming and agreeing to being a part. Christy is a longtime friend that I've been knowing for years. But let me say something. Christy have been frustrating me on this social media, okay? Let me just put that out there, okay? And it got to the point to where on one of her posts, I'm just saying one. It's not like that Christy posted more than one time, but I think I got tired of seeing the post. And on one of her posts, I went on her page and I said, Christy, I love you, but you have got to quit posting these ignorant comments and posts.
I love you.
So that's how the conversation started. Well, we were going back and forth, and then I realized this wasn't going to work. And there was someone who's friends with Christy who actually made a racial comment, to be honest with you. And I actually shared that on my page, on all my pages. And I can tell you that just by people reading that post, people wanted to go in on Christy's friend. I purposely blocked out the name because I didn't want anybody to attack Christy, because I really know Christy's heart. There's just some education that needs to happen. But I invited her because not only did Christy have questions, but what touched my heart the most is for a day or so, I ignored Christy's inbox messages after that because I was done. When I seen her friend post what she posted, I just bawled my eyes out because I've already been like this and I was done. So Christy was inboxing me, just trying to share her heart and stuff. And I just refused to open that inbox. But when I finally opened the inbox, she shared, I'm reading everything that she was sharing. And she literally was saying, I'm learning what Black Lives Matter. I don't know what Black Lives Matter is. I don't know what that is. And so in order for us to see a difference, we have to be the change that we want to see. And I'm all about loving people. I love everybody. And I invited my dear friend Christy. And I think actually the person who made that comment is going to be on here tuning in. So I just want everybody to feel free to share what they need to share. Again, I thank you guys for tuning in. If it gets a little emotional for me, please forgive me, because I'm telling you, I have been extremely emotional. So
Which is understandable. And I'll take it for a second while you gather your composure.
thank you.
I think that for me, for the first time in my life, and Janoya, you seem to have a few more grades than I do, and I would assume that you got a couple more years on me. But for me, in my life, for the first time, I feel like I live in the United States of America. And I say that because for the first time, I feel like everyone is talking about the same thing. Whether you're for it or against it, we can look at COVID and we can look at how different states responded, and some didn't respond, and some still think it didn't happen, and all those types of things. And you can go all the way back to the last time that I felt a semblance of this was September 11th. But September 11th, I felt it as an American. This time I actually feel Black. And it feels great. It's unfortunate circumstances, but for the first time, I'm having some great conversations, hard, emotional, whatever they may be, conversations with people that are not Black. And I'm able to share things that for years have been overlooked, unnoticed, ignored, and pushed aside. And so, Mimi, for providing a platform like this for us to just share, I appreciate it. I think that it's a great stage for some great conversation. So let's get into it. Come on.
Awesome. Before, Diana, thank you for this. Vincent, can you open up in prayer, please?
Oh, sure. Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us opportunity to share thoughts, and we just ask that the Holy Spirit would govern our hearts and allow our spirits to be open, to be able to hear one another, examine one another, and ultimately lend ourselves to truth. We honor you, we worship you, and in the words of Pastor Jamal Bryant, in the name of a Black man who was killed by a government that unjustly found him guilty of something, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Christy, since I opened it up with why I invited you to come on, can you just share a little bit of your heart and share with everybody who's tuned in and who's on the panel, just maybe some questions that you had first, and or some comments that was told to you, and just how you felt about the whole Black Lives Matter kind of thing.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard somebody say truth will set you free. I don't know what that was, but we can hear you.
Amen. Amen for the word.
Oh, God. Christy,
My
are you
phone
there?
is something's going on. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Thumbs up, dear. We can hear you.
You got me.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing, because there's so many thoughts. Don't you laugh, Mimi.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, so I spent a lot of time over the past couple of days. What? Okay, I'm just gonna keep talking. If you can't hear me, just wait.
Hold on. You can send me
Hands in
the
the air,
text
okay?
message and I will tell the story for you.
Okay.
Wait, something happened with
So
Vincent.
you cannot hear me.
We can hear
We
you.
can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, you can? Oh,
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to start off with a couple of scriptures that really spoke to me. And it's actually in regards to me learning a lot more about the Black Lives Matter movement. So the first one, I'm going to read it off, is Psalm 82:3. This is the NIV version. It says, "Defend the weak and fatherless, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. The other one was Galatians 6:2, also NIV. Carry each other's burden. In this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. So I sat there and I'm thinking, wow, okay, so the oppressed, that's really what we're talking about right now. And I started thinking, I was like, the whole time, this whole Black Lives Matter thing, I'm like, all lives matter. All lives matter. I don't understand. Why is it just Black Lives Matter? Well, you know, social media is a powerful, powerful tool. And you start to, you see other people's perspectives on things. And one of the things that really hit me most and really sunk was the fact that Black Lives Matter never said my life didn't matter. They just want their life to be valued as much as mine is or anybody else's. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it really hit home to me. And I thought, my gosh, it's like, you know, yes, all lives matter, but Black Lives Matter, the reason they want that recognition is because they are suffering from oppression. And like, you know, recent events, we've seen that there's definitely targeting. And so that just kind of led me on this whole thing about the Black Lives Matter movement. I was reminded of videos I watched years ago when it first came out, because like I said, media is a very, very powerful thing. And the guy's name was Jay Salads. I thought, what a funny last name, Salads. But he did this YouTube video, and he stood in a predominantly white neighborhood and in front of the store, and he held up a sign that said Black Lives Matter. And this is back in like 2016, I think. So it's been a while. Anyway, he stood there and he was saying Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And do you agree? Do you agree? And it was like mixed emotions. Some people just put their hands up, walked away. Some people were like, oh, well, all lives matter. And some people were like, no, I don't support that. And then you had the ones that said, yes, Black Lives Matter. And they agreed. So then his experiment, he took it to a predominantly Black neighborhood. And he held up a sign that said all lives matter. And the response was so different. They, chased him out of there, basically. And that was my first encounter with Black Lives Matter. I was like, and I'm sitting here scratching my head going, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. So when you talk about learning, it's, if you're so close-minded and you only read what comes in front of you because, you know, everything is conditioned for what you already are putting on the internet, right? So it's like, I'm only going to see what I chose to believe. So that was really eye-opening to me. So the whole Black Lives Matter thing took on a totally different meaning for me, especially when, you know, I'm hearing stories, you know, from a good friend of mine that I've known since, middle school. And her oldest son, just a quick little story, her oldest son and their friend, they were in a car, got pulled over, and her son was put in handcuffs, but the other boy wasn't put in handcuffs. Why? You know, and it's just like, that didn't make any sense to me. And she just shared this story with me. And then I thought, that makes absolutely no sense. And then it just kind of took me back to the whole Black Lives Matter. And why is it such a big deal? Because they don't feel like they matter. And if we keep quiet and if we don't say anything, then, like people that run in my circle, if I'm not vocal about it, how are they going to learn? How are they not going to, you know, change their minds? Does that make sense, or am I just mumbling?
No, you're making sense.
Okay, so I'm making sense. And so the other thing I wanted to share really quick, that really hit home to me. So, you know, the whole Colin Kaepernick thing is, you know, back in the news. So when that whole protest started, that was in August of 2016. When he first did it, he was just sitting on the bench. And it really didn't go noticed until I think it was the second time when he was on the bench. And I think a reporter noticed and started talking to him about it. Well, he was advised by, I wrote down the guy's name. Hold on, what was his name? He was the U.S. Army guy, Boyd or something like that.
Yeah.
A U.S. Army vet to take a knee. Was it it was Boyd, right? I think so. Anyway, so he advised him to take a knee during the national anthem for his protest. So back a little story for me is that I opposed it. I was livid. I could not believe that someone would kneel during the national anthem, because I'm patriotic. My son-in-law is a U.S. Marine, and he's been deployed twice. So during football season, when these protests are going on, my son-in-law is over there taking bullets. He got a Purple Heart. He was risking his life. And all I could see was red. I was ticked. Like, how dare you kneel when my son-in-law is risking his life to give you the right to do that? Like, pick another time to do it, you know? So that was where I stood on it. And I guess it was 2 days ago, I was watching a video, and I think I think in Phoenix. I think it was the Phoenix police officers. And there was a peaceful protest, and people were chanting, kneel with me. And they just kept saying it, kneel with me, kneel with me. And there was probably like, I don't know, 50 police officers lined up on the sidewalks. And they're all standing there, you know, they have their face mask down, and they've got their shields up, because I guess they were prepared if things got out of hand. And as they're chanting, kneel with me, one police officer took a knee. And I was like,
Christy.
Okay, that's cool. And then all of
Christy.
them took a knee. And
Christy, can you hear me? I don't mean to cut you off, dear. I don't
Yeah.
mean to cut you off, because I don't want to like get off all the way off the topic, because we're going to get back into that when it comes to whenever we get into the conversations. But I wanted you to share your part of, you know, just your part of the reason me inviting you and your heart behind why you felt like you didn't understand the whole Black Lives Matter. But I definitely, before we go back to our conversation with you, I wanted Leah to share her story, because her story is absolutely amazing. And Leah, I'm gonna let you take it from here, dear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So basically, you know, I come from just an upbringing that was always very aware of racism, and also very aware of diversity and the power of those. So to summarize, my grandfather was a blatant racist. He was born in 1923. His upbringing was, he was taught that way, and that's just what it was. And so he fought in World War II, and after the war, he just struggled with a lot of things: addiction, anger, obviously hatred in his heart. And he was seeking God and Christianity, but the fellow white Christians that he knew at the time, he said he just, he didn't see necessarily Christ in their lifestyle. And so he had a Black coworker who had kept inviting him to church, kept inviting him to go fishing, and slowly, kind of through his kindness, spoke to his heart. And he prayed to God, and God just miraculously healed him from his addiction. And he took that moment, and that very next day, he went to the church that his Black coworker had been inviting him to. And through the message and the love that he received, he gave his life to Christ. He was baptized. He experienced like a genuine encounter with God through the Holy Spirit, and it radically changed his life, to the point that he spent the next 60 plus years as the only white deacon in that Black church. His family, not all of them, but most of them, stopped speaking to him. His twin brother I met maybe once in my lifetime, because of their racist views, and we were considered abominations as mixed children. My mother and my aunt both married Black men that they met at church. My father was a preacher, and so it was just very aware for me early on, the levels of racism toward me as a child, like literally as a little child, as well as also dealing with the reality that I grew up in a home where there was love between opposites, and the power that brought. But for my grandfather, it was just such an amazing testimony. He died a few months ago at 97 years old, and they live in a little small house kind of outside where I grew up, in more farming area, so it's not a lot of diversity in the area. And when I say his funeral was packed with Black faces, people who look like me, people darker than me, it didn't matter. It was filled with every color you can think of. And you have to understand, this man was 97, so most of his counterparts were long and gone. And the genuine love and relationship and family he had developed from God radically changing his heart and his life, it was just beautiful to see. And I think that the biggest point from that is, like, not once when he became aware of truth did he question what he was losing in the natural for what he was gaining in the spiritual. And so, yes, he lost family and so-called friends, but he gained a legacy. He broke generational curses of racism. He broke generational curses of addiction. He created, I would not be here if it weren't for his obedience to God and his heart. And so many of us now, like, he had 38 great grands, 24 grandkids. They were all mostly in houses that serve Christ, and are very aware of Black people, even on, her all white side. Like, there's a love that's there because of exposure and because of education. And so, I just encourage anyone that, like, you can't be fearful of, what your friends will think or what your family will say, or even like fellow church members will say or think, because, like, ultimately God has the authority, and he's the only one who can change your heart, because your behaviors can change without your heart changing. And that doesn't get you really anywhere. But when your heart changes, then your behaviors truly change. And his did, to the point that it was just, I would not be here. Like, my husband's family's in ministry, my family's in ministry. Like, there's so much that God can do when you give your heart to him and operate in obedience. And I saw that from my grandfather, and he didn't play with righteousness. He was very strong in the word, and when he became aware of truth, he went all in. And so I think there's a difference between truly changing and going all in, and then, like, tiptoeing around an issue for political correctness. And so that I just wanted to share that the legacy that he had, and that model of obedience, and truly, like, having God change your heart. That's the power of what can happen when we seek him above politics or opinions or anything else. So
That's awesome. We're done. Thank you guys for tuning in. So to get this whole thing started, there's a question that someone has asked, and feel free, Vincent, feel free to come out and answer this. But the question was, for those who do not know, what does it mean to be anti-racist?
Well,
Anybody?
I'll tackle that. Can you all hear me just fine?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're asking that question in a loaded way, but I mean, just based on the etymology and semantics, to be against racist, but the idea would encompass to be against racism, right? And so there are some people that are still of the mind that we're in a post-racist society. I have no idea when that happened and when it began. I live in America, so I think maybe we're waking up on different sides of the planet every day, where I've entered a very systemic society that perpetuates racism, but some people still proclaim that we are in a post-racist society. So I think to be anti-racist and anti-racism is not to be neutral, but it's to take an active role in fighting against what you notice to be overt and blatant racism. And when it goes beyond there to the more insidious causes, it's to speak out in your groups of friends, amongst your family, to those not so blatant acts of racism, those ideas of racism that tend to take over our conversations sometimes, that we never check people for, whether it be on the workplace. So I think it's just being active against those, those things that would try to cause divide based on race.
Okay.
Yeah, just to follow a little bit with Janoy, can you guys hear me? I think you can. Okay. So it's so good, right? I'm here as a brown Mexican-American ally and trying to understand. I have my own understanding of what that can mean for the Black community, right? I've grown up in diversity, and and I have my idea of how I think that is. And I don't think I ever thought, wait, was my experience, although we were diverse, was my experience of inclusion the same as, you know, my friends that are in African American or the Black community? Did they feel that same inclusion that I felt? And I don't think I've ever asked that question until now, because I've, you know, Mimi, I've known you forever, and my spiritual life and my life of intercession, of understanding deeper levels and dimensions in the spirit, and understanding how to birth in the spirit. That was literally, I was birthed out of 2 Black women who literally took me in, embraced me, and birthed me out, you know? So for me, that the Black community for me is very important, along with, you know, in African American too, because one of my mentors is actually from South Africa, and, you know, and so anyways, I never asked those questions. And so I'm here, you know, with wanting to be that support and that ally. And then, you know, I think it has to do with, like how Janoy is saying, having those conversations with your family members, because it's a global issue. I came from Mexico, right? Nobody talks about this, but if you travel, most of the people, no matter where you go, I've been to Africa, Germany, Mexico, wherever you go, the people that are going to be serving you are those of darker skin. It just never fails. It doesn't matter where you go. And so this is an issue that, of course, we need to attack at home. And I just pray that it infiltrates like globally, because it's a global issue. And for me, having family still in Mexico that maybe are not as diverse, that's why I'm here, because I would love for them to become aware of those things, become aware of the importance of treating people equally, right? And not just treating them equally, but taking the time to know their story, know their value, and not just let them in the room as long as they stay silent or quiet, right? But letting them in the room to truly have a conversation and understand where they come from, what their struggle is, and finding that common ground where we can actually be treated equally. So for me, I'm here as a brown Mexican American ally, wanting to learn more about what else can we do? What are some of more of the questions that we should be asking, you know, ourselves, our community, my household, and you know, I feel very passionate about it because it's affected, you know, my life, and I have seen inequality and racism myself, and so I can only imagine. I can only kind of wrap my head around what your community, what you guys go through on a daily basis. And so I think being an anti-racist is being an ally, sitting back, understanding, being educated, just like what Christy's doing right now, being bold enough to be a part of these conversations, because I think they can be scary, right? Because you don't want to say anything that's going to offend someone. But at the end of the day, Mimi, once again, you are doing what others are scared to do. And I am so thankful. Janoy, so good to see you. I haven't seen you in forever. And so that's why I'm here. I think that's part of being anti-racism, is understanding your own, you know, how you can impact your own like local community, and being a part of these hard conversations so you can take it back and open up those, you know, those avenues for change.
Definitely,
So
definitely like that. I'm trying to focus, but Christy is killing me with this logging on and logging off. And then Vincent coming off, then Christy come back on, Vincent. I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Focus, Mimi. Just focus.
Oh, okay.
You can't control the technology.
You know,
Just focus.
you
Just
already
focus.
know I lose. You already know that
I
that
know.
focus got me going right now.
Keep driving the
Okay,
conversation.
so
We got it. Come on.
Vincent, listen,
Yes, ma'am.
Vincent, because let's talk a little bit about police brutality.
Okay.
Share a little bit. I know that I love seeing the posts that you've been posting, you know, on IG, and we want to hear your heart. Just share a little bit of your heart on how you feel about everything that's going on right now. Give us your take on it.
There's a lot of conversations happening right now. It's all layered. It's a bunch of things right now. We're not talking about one thing. We're not only talking about George Floyd. We're not only talking about President Trump. We're not only talking about the election. We're not only talking about conservative views versus Black Lives Matters versus respectability politics. We're not only talking about any of those things. It's one of those things that has to. If I give you everything, it's too much taking. It's like a fire hydrant.
Right.
And so
right.
For a moment, I'll dive into one piece of it. And the piece I'd like to dive into is the one that's just been on the forefront of my mind after today and yesterday's events, which was Drew Brees' comments about Colin Kaepernick and Colin Kaepernick's expression to bow his knee and kneel. The crazy thing about it is that to any Black person I've spoken to, and when I say any Black person I've spoken to, I'm not saying I've talked to the entire Black base. I am saying that I've spoken to people that didn't grow up like me necessarily. But we all agree on this thing that America worships this flag as if the flag has always loved all of her citizens. And as a Black man, I can say that that flag has never loved me. As a Black man, I can say that I, too, like Drew Brees, and this is not a point at Leah's point, but Drew Brees made the comment about his grandfather fighting in U.S. wars. And I was like, Black men fought too. Like our grandfathers fought too. Colin Kaepernick has family members, I'm certain, that were military and that fought in wars, that helped to preserve the freedom and peace of our country, in as much as a war that we start does that. Because we can get into a whole nother conversation about how the wars that have happened since World War II were not wars that the American government should have ever went into, but because of the same spirit of America that causes us to come into countries, pillage their people, take their culture, ravage their homes, kill them, and then put our flag in the ground and call it our home, and then write up a Declaration of Independence as if we were given this land by God. That same spirit is the inherent spirit of America that drives so many people in this country today. The flag has never loved the Black man. This country has never loved the Black man, let alone the Black woman, who is at the bottom of the totem pole when we deal with this. And so when I choose to respect Colin kneeling, that does not mean that I'm spitting in the face of anyone that fought for my freedom, which, if that's ever happened, let me know. It's not that I'm doing that. It's that I'm understanding that that's the best way for him to use his platform to draw attention to those that would otherwise be ignorant to a cause and a idea that needed elevation, which is this very idea that Black Lives Matter. And so it's offensive. A number of things are offensive. When Roger Goodell and the NFL put out a statement about Black Lives Mattering and Colin Kaepernick is still unemployed, being punished for his peaceful protests, that bothers me. When the San Francisco 49ers put up their black tile and said Black Lives Matter after they released Colin Kaepernick, that bothers me. When Drew Brees, a peer and former colleague, an equal, if you will, of Colin Kaepernick, goes on to say that Colin Kaepernick disrespected the flag, it bothers me, because the people that talk about the disrespect of the flag claim to serve the same Jesus Christ that I serve. They claim to love the same God I love. the claim to. It'd be different if they were atheists or if they were agnostic or if they weren't Christians. But because they are, and because I know what they read, and I know how I interpret that, and I know what truth is, I realize that, like their ancestors who use this very scripture, parts of it, to keep my ancestors enslaved, I realize that they are extremely flawed in their thought. And so I've been taking my time to break down the idea that Black people are the most patriotic people in the country, considering the fact that we built this country for free, that we live in this country without any outrageous demands. Our only demand right now is equity and equality. We're not saying that you owe us something we don't deserve. And so there's never a point where anyone can argue racism with me. Patriotism with me, because I'm more patriotic than you, because your ancestors didn't have to die for you to be alive. And so when you say the flag is being disrespected, to me, it also equates to all lives mattering, or people that say all lives matter. I feel like the people that say all lives matter are the same people that say the flag is being disrespected when someone kneels, and they're the same people that say that they vote with their values, and that there is this inherent dismissal of being able to get rid of the unconscious bias. And so a lot of my conversations have been pointing that way, and I can go more into it, but I feel like I've talked enough on that point, and we can just dive into some other parts.
I like
all the time.
No, I like what you said, Vincent, and especially when you hit on everybody. There are a lot of people that are saying all lives matter, all lives matter, and I swear to you, that is like the worst thing right now that you could continue to say, and it's frustrating. Now, to anybody on the panel, what do you think about, or anyone that's on the live feed, what do you think about those that are neutral, including the church? I'm just saying, we need to, we're going to hit points. I know we'll be all day talking about a lot of stuff, so we're not going to do that, but we're going to hit points. So, Janoy?
I'll speak on that. I think it's impossible to be neutral. It's impossible to be neutral. And if you're a Christian, God is not a neutral God. He's a God that hates the killing of the innocent. He's a God that hates injustice and tells us to fight for justice. He's a God who, in sending his own son, was a victim of brutality, of being, from religious leaders. Now, let's not forget that point, because it was the religious leaders that persecuted him, not sinners. And so when you take all of that, there is no neutral. You're either fighting for the kingdom of God, which is 100% against racism, or you've made an idol of something else and you're calling it Christianity. Point. There is nothing, not your skin tone, not your politics, that trumps the authority of the Bible if you are a Christian. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's no way around that truth. So what people have tried to do is make this a political discussion of left versus right. God is not defined in any of those boxes.
Come on.
He has authority over all of those boxes. So if you have to be careful that if your heart is not seeking God as the ultimate authority, you've made something else an idol above his word, because his word is very clear. And he created me, and he created every other person of color. Now you're telling me that there's something wrong with him. So now you have pride, because now your own thoughts are above God's, because he created me.
Come on.
So and that's a spiritual context. In the natural, there's just no way to be neutral. Neutrality is based in fear, because you're fearing for repercussion. And I just feel like there's never been a time where you can stand on what's right and do it scared. Yeah. We're to be bold. And so I just don't buy that at all. I have a situation where I consult certain clients for my company, and they call me for everything when it comes to crisis communication. And on this issue, they did not call, and it's we didn't know what to do, or we're all white and we don't know what to do. And I'm like, but if you really wanted to know, you would ask, or you would seek information. And so I also don't buy the argument of, I didn't grow up around Black people, I didn't grow up in the first neighborhood, but you saw an entire country filled with Black people and never felt in your heart that you should learn or associate yourselves or to learn about them. So again, we come to this there's a blissful ignorance, and there's just no way to be neutral. You're either for or you're against. And even in your neutrality, you're against, because you're not speaking up for what is right and what is fair for all humans. If you take spirituality completely out of it, if you believe in your own constitution and you believe in your own liberty and justice for all, then where is the liberty and justice for all?
That's so good. Before Janoy speaks, I just want to read what some of the comments are saying. PJ says, to be silent is to agree. To be silent is to be for injustice. We are called to speak and act and to be a light on a hill. That's from PJ. Michael says, to say all lives matter in response to the Black Lives Matter, cry to me is a blatant stance of disregard to the lives of the many Black people who are murdered with no justice.
Right.
So
I saw a post today on Twitter that said, on September 11th, I want to wear a T-shirt that says all buildings matter. And it made me laugh so hard. And if I didn't, and here's the caveat, I won't wear that shirt because I care about the 3,000 lives that were lost, even though I didn't know them, and even though most of them don't look like me. So as ironic as I feel the joke is, or bringing the truth or the allegory or whatever it is to help people understand why all lives matter is irrelevant, I can't do that because I'm convicted to see myself as no better than any person that ended their life or whose life was ended that day. And so I cannot, while we take a day to honor them, turn my shoulder and my back to it to say, well, what about the Empire State Building? It's still standing. Why don't we give it a day? Why aren't there pins on our shirts in the shape of the Empire State Building? Well, that's because all buildings matter. And there are codes and fire marshals and all those things to make sure those buildings matter and that they can stand. But these buildings were lost and demolished and taken from us, and lives were lost. It's the same thing. The issue is, and I want to build off of what Leah was just saying, I don't believe that there's anybody that's in the middle. I think there are people that are afraid to say where they stand in public. I think that there are people having these private conversations, and what's happening now is those conversations have to come to the public. And now you're a CEO and you're a job and you are an athlete, you're a singer. Now they're saying, where do you stand? And you have Drew Brees that says, well, I felt like the flag was disrespected. And then you have Tiffany Haddish standing with the mother of Eric Garner with Al Sharpton today at the funeral for George Floyd. It's at the point where you need to risk your jobs, your careers, your finances, because this next curve we're about to come around as a society is not going to be kind to the people that tried to ride the fence. We've made it for some time, and for whatever reason, the perfect storm was set up where 40 million people would be without work, sitting at home doing nothing but scrolling on their phones and watching the news, and bored and tired of being at home, so that all of a sudden our attention is captured by a white woman in Central Park calling the cops on a Black man for telling her to leash her dog. She feels attacked. And we're like, this is outrageous. This is crazy. Do you see this lady? He could have got killed. This lady could have killed this man. Only for 12 hours later for us to keep scrolling and see footage of a white man standing on or kneeling on the neck of a Black man, killing him, taking his life away. And now we all saw it. because it didn't get covered up with any other feeds of my vacation and, oh, look at my new office, and oh, we just bought a new house, and oh, we've got a new car. Look what the dog did. Those posts are gone. All there was space, time, and opportunity. And here we are, a week and a half later, able to have conversations like this because there's nothing else to do but sit and watch our country come to terms with who she has been. And I've been saying this, that in the church community, there are a lot of people that were, I see you, Z, we were losing jobs anyway, we might as well be honest. Come on. So like, put your job on the line, let's do it. But I looked at a lot of churches talking about what 2020 represented, what 2020 was going to be. Oh, it's going to be the year of supernatural vision. And I was like, 2020 is literal normal vision. Like, there's nothing supernatural about 2020. It's literally a metric that you gauge if someone has good or bad vision on. 2020 is showing us who America really is. Without the rose-colored glasses, without the bifocals, without the contact lenses, we've taken all that away, and we've shown ourselves that our entire system, from Washington, D.C. to Washington State, is corrupt and messed up. And it's allowing us to examine the corrosion. And literally, the reason that Puerto Rico is still waiting for help to rebuild is the same reason why we're walking around saying Black Lives Matter, is the same reason why we're up here waiting for the government to give us another handout to save us for people that are in financial hardships. But everybody sees it as these hard lines when the big blur is America does not love us. And we built ourselves, as Leah said, to worship an idea that has never really reigned true. An idea that has never been coast to coast, sea to shining sea, the land of the free and the home of the brave. You can't say just because a soldier goes to war, he's brave. No, he doesn't want to be broke. He wants the country to be able to cover his college expenses because he doesn't want to be in debt. I know a number of them that went to war just for those kinds of causes. He wants to be able to buy a house with a 0% down payment, and have the country help him be able to afford a better life for his kids. So he risked his life, not to defend the country, but so that his life could advance. Slavery has not ended. It's just morphed into things where it's taken different shapes. And we're sitting up here saying, no, stand up for the pledge. And please stand for this song when the Star Spangled Banner was written by a man who owned slaves and in worship of the idea that the slaves are still his at the end of a battle. And you
Come on, Vincent.
Song. You want me to respect this flag. You want me to honor this place that my ancestors built against their will for free, and then tell me, well, if you don't like it so much, you should go home. Well, maybe you should go back to Ireland and Switzerland and Norway and Greece and France. Maybe you should go back too. The issue is we haven't accepted the fact that these founding fathers that we worship their words of the Declaration of Independence, those words were not penned for everyone.
Yeah.
Women didn't get the right to vote until the 1920s. Blacks, I'm sorry, the late 1800s. Blacks didn't, no, 1920s. The blacks didn't get a right to vote to the 1960s, which means black women didn't have a right to vote to the 1960s. So the women's suffrage movement never ended. And black women are still astronomically paid less than their white counterparts. So in fact, the women's suffrage movement is still going. And so when you talk about women's suffrage or gay rights or housing equity, and you don't address Black Lives Mattering, you're ignoring the fact that until Black Lives Matter, no life matters.
I wish that people, but I wish that people would get that. It's not, we're not saying that. Vincent said, I said enough, and then his picture popped up, y'all.
I pressed the wrong button. No.
I know, I'm just messing with you. The fact that, see, I told you I'd be losing focus. The fact that people are saying, you got to stop saying Black Lives Matter. It's all lives matter. We're not saying that only Black Lives Matter. We're just saying Black Lives Matter. We're not saying, hey, nobody else's lives matter but Black people. I just wish that people get that. By the way, Christy apologized to everybody, y'all. She said she lost signal, but she's going to be in the comments asking questions. So just FYI, I wanted to acknowledge that. But Janoy, pick up where Vincent left off.
I don't know how you can pick up where Vincent left off. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put it out there. If you waiting for eloquence over here in this corner, you might as well pack your lunch because you ain't about to get eloquence over here. We don't do eloquence. Well, bro, I don't know. Baby, I was listening to him talk and I was like, wait, am I still in the panel discussion or have I started watching the Lord just plain on move? Can he get a towel and a fresh bottle of water? Baby, he was preaching that thing. No, but seriously. So he's absolutely right. And I just want, because I can't speak, I'm not the most eloquent, but I love words. And a part of, I think, what is a mistake and a liability to the cause, period, the cause of Black people, the cause of America, the cause of just our humanity, is the fact that we have to make statements like Black lives matter. Because for you to present that something matters, presents that there's a level of irrelevancy that might be applied there as well, right? So if you tell me my life matters, that means that there's a potentiality and a possibility for it not to matter. And I don't think white America has ever caught on to that. And anybody who knows me knows that I love all people. Like, if you got my back, I got yours. But I think semantically, when Thirsa was saying, you know, were we treated the same way? And I try to treat people and to suggest the treatment is a handling of something, right? And so it begs the question that when we wake up in the morning, do we really have this perspective, this idea in our brains that not that we're all equal, not that we should be equal, not that everything is equitable, but we all woke up God's children on his green earth. And so therefore we have a value to us that can't be taken away and certainly shouldn't be taken away. And there are some people in the world. Can I just stop myself and go back real quick? Do y'all mind?
Yeah.
Okay, real quick.
Go ahead.
All the way back.
Come on.
It's racism, but for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evils, right? And I know we throw that verse out, but if we, I want you to go back before we even get to Africa. When you get to a group of people, you can go all the way back to Babylon. You can cross through the Silk Trade, and you can go back the Silk Road and say, okay, when people realized that they could make money, but it was hard to do the work, and that greed set in, and you said, okay, man devised the plan. And he said, look, I need to figure out a way where I can get the benefits of this work, because I know the Lord said man doesn't eat if he doesn't work. So I need the benefits of this work, but work is hard. Work is hard. And so once you get to that level, you have people now there pumping in slaves to ancient Egypt. And you have people that are pumping in slaves to Cyprus, right? They were bringing people over from both Europe and Africa to cut down those trees in Lebanon. And so if we want to really get into slavery, I'm going to go ahead and take the role that a lot of people don't like. Almost every culture in the world has been enslaved. That's why all of us should understand that slavery is wrong.
Absolutely.
Because when white people were enslaved at different times in history, guess what they did? They rose up against it because they realized slavery was wrong. Absolutely. And when the Latinos experienced slavery at the hands of the Spanish in Middle and Mexican America, in Middle and in Mexico, they said, look, something doesn't feel right. This is wrong. Yeah. And so we know that slavery is wrong. I'm not trying to convince you that enslaving, subjugating, putting your neck on the heads of people is wrong. You woke up with a sense of right and wrong. You know it's wrong. The fact is that we are afraid to release that coin purse, because if I can get a system that keeps feeding into my wallet and I don't have to work for it, it's a perfect system. As an entrepreneur, I know that you all may say to yourself, you're like, okay, look, if I could create a system where I could just get pure profit, even in my sleep, and never have to sweat a day, break a nail, or hammer. Kinfolk, you're taking that ticket. I'm taking that ticket. That's 100% profit. And that's what we've realized in America. So this is the point I want to get to you all. Are you ready? Don't let the distractions get us, Kinfolk. Colin Kaepernick never kneeled in revolt to a flag. We can make it that way. We can justify. We can even use the force to say that our country hates us, but it was for the police brutality. That's what it was really for. And so our concentration constantly is veering from focus. We can never hone in as a people, as a country, on a clear focus where we can make clear change to. And as long as we're easily distracted, folks are going to be throwing out distractions. As long as you're a pretty bird, they're always going to be throwing something up in the air for you to look at. And so what I want us to realize, everybody involved, if we don't wake up, y'all, and Pastor Nemoye was right, it's going to be you next. And you need to look at the Netherlands. You need to look at Washington State. You need to look at Ohio and know that robots are coming into the workplace. And this country that you love so much, that has given white privilege to so many, is not going to care about you, because we only need a handful of folk making the money. And so that job that you prize so much, you're the CEO of this and that, it's out of the window, and you're going to experience the same struggles that minorities have had to experience their entire lives. Those same struggles that even poor whites that are marginalized have had to experience their entire lives. So, do Black Lives Matter? Heck yeah. Do all lives matter? I suppose so. But to repeat the post I saw on the internet today, nobody goes to a cancer or breast cancer walk saying all cancers matter. No teacher gets a student, walks up and says, I have an injury, and gives a Band-Aid to the whole class. You address the issue at hand. And the issue at hand is that Blackness has come to get its reimbursement. Like he said earlier, we built it, we should own it, and we didn't get any privilege to it, not a spot. And the handful of African Americans and Blacks that have etched out a way for us to have our voices heard and make our presence known, I thank God for you, and I appreciate it. Because now, if you make a decision to not be active in this fight and in this struggle, it is a decision. You can't say, I didn't get on social media, so I didn't know what was going on. I don't watch the news. It's all, gloom and doom. You can't escape it. It's everywhere. The air that you're breathing in is full of the pressure that we've been feeling our entire lives. And this country, we love, like he said, that we're complete patriots of in America. And as a history teacher, I like what he said. He said, we're the most patriotic, because even after we fought in the Revolutionary War and they said, go back to your slave master, you continue to fight other wars based on ideologies that never supported you. So America, Houston, the church, I love y'all, but we got to get it right. We got to get it right. The most racist hour of the week is in church. And there's not to diminish your efforts at all, because you are an ally, and I've known you for a greater part of your life, and you are a beautiful woman of God. And that prayer thing, that's you. She was telling the truth, y'all, when she talked about her being and that's been Thirsta's heart from the beginning. But in Texas, especially, when you go to a church, especially a non-denom, they have a Spanish service, or at least a translation that caters to that culture. If you're at a non-denom or you're at a Southern Baptist church, we already know the culture that's going to be taught, that's going to be sang about. And so where are Black people? If we don't go to Black churches, it's almost like we're selling out our race, because we have to forsake the culture on Sunday morning from 10 to 11, because it's not being projected to us. It's not being, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so as Christians, I think everybody in this room loves God. As Christians, no, we are not called to be quiet. This isn't the time to turn the other cheek. This is the time to be the Jesus who turned over the tables in the temple. This is the time to be the Jesus that said, you cast the first stone. That Jesus we need right now. That's the Jesus. We need the Jesus at the well. We don't need the buried Jesus in the sarcophagus. We need the risen Jesus. We don't need baby Jesus in a manger. We need the risen, resurrected, powerful Christ to give us that understanding and knowledge so we can do something with this situation. Okay, now I'm done sweating and talking.
I'm glad. I'm glad you said everything that you said. Yes, absolutely.
So it's very interesting what Janoy said about, you have to fit into this mold. And I feel like maybe I can knock two birds with one stone. Addressing Leah Cass, because I work in corporate, and I've worked in corporate for my entire life. And so I just sent we had a town hall meeting, a call with all of our Black and African American associates. They extended it to some allies. So they extended it to me. And I really think, because we could see all the leadership that was kind of like online, and you couldn't see the participants, to kind of just allow them to be honest. And I honestly think that they thought it was going to be another corporate meeting, another nice, play nice, yes ma'am, no sir, whatever. And I was already like, if it's going to be like that, I'm going to be the first one to say no. Like colleagues are not okay. You not reaching out to them, you not putting communication out there to say, I hear you, I see you, is not okay. And so, but I was pleasantly surprised. People were not, I mean, the first person on the call, they were like, this is not going to be a nice, proper, molded profile, corporate conversation. I am tired of doing that. I'm going to be honest. I am, and he went on and gave us some very good pointers, right, to do. Like, hey, we need you to be a part of this, and this is how you can be a part of that. And so I think that people are tired. And one of our colleagues just said, I don't have time to educate you right now. If you're going to call and ask me if I'm okay. Ask me if I need to take some time off. Do not ask me to educate you on something that you can Google, on something that you should already know, A, because you hired me, and B, because we're supposed to be an inclusion and diverse, and we're supposed to be in an inclusive and diverse environment. And so with that, I wanted to add, right, that inclusion and diversity is like, okay, so we included you, so we're diverse, right? What is not realized is that you are included as long as you speak a certain way, react a certain way, have a certain tone of voice, and then maybe your opinion, your strategies, your intelligence, maybe it might be heard. So you're invited into these, you're welcome into these rooms, but just so that they can pat themselves on the back. Did you see how awesome, how diverse we were with no inclusion? Because inclusion to me means that I know you, I know your struggles, I accept you exactly how you are. We can have conversations, and I don't have to worry about you having these side conversations about how I don't get it. So I was talking to some of my colleagues, and they're like, I just wasn't expecting it. Some of my Black colleagues, and I was like, how are you? And she goes, honestly, I wasn't expecting anything, because maybe I've just been doing this too long, or maybe because my relationship with God is strong. And I was like, I'm sorry that you have to be that way, because it's not okay. It's not okay that even if I'm feeling emotionally drained, of course, our colleagues, how can they handle their client work? How can you expect them to continue functioning like another business day? No. And I think I'm excited that these conversations are happening, because things need to change. These molds were not made for people that look different than what you predominantly have in corporate. And I hate to say, oh, white people, but that's what it is. That's who we have in leadership. That is who we have in do we have people here and there? Yeah, of course. Like I said, diversity, right? Check the checkbox. And I think people are tired of that. Don't give me another checkbox. Don't give me another conversation that is, you want me to talk a certain way and tell you that everything is great. No, everything is not great.
It's not.
So, no. And so to talk with Leah in the corporate, I just think that for me, my mission is to speak up. Like, I have to speak up. I have sent emails to leadership and say, hey, what is going on? We're getting no response at all whatsoever. Like on our front page, we're getting a lot of conversation with the LGBTQ, which it's amazing and it should, right? But that is not like Genoa and Vincent was talking about. That's not the building that's on fire right now. Mm-hmm. Why are we not attacking this head on, right? And then number two, with the church, Genoa, that's part of why my husband and I don't really go. And that is me being transparent. And I don't know how many people are watching this, but there is nothing there that that no one relates to. As a matter of fact, the only people that have ever reached out to us was Steve Miller. Steve Miller, I have to speak on his behalf just because he's been a great person in our lives, and even growing up, I remember him defending. He had all kinds of minority kids in his youth group. He encouraged that environment. He encouraged that inclusion. He allowed you to be a little crazy and be yourself and be, as educated and as crazy as you wanted to be. And he would he was inclusive with all of us. And that was one of my most beautiful memories growing up in church, because it was relevant. It spoke to me. That's what I wanted to be around. And but my husband is in the breaking community and the hip hop community, which it's beautiful to see so much diversity in one group. Hip hop includes everyone. We have hip hop in Germany and Japan. Like I was telling Mimi, there's a group of, not to get offline and not to get off subject, right? But there is nothing that speaks to my husband, because people have been in church for so freaking long that they don't even know new strategies. They hire the same consultants that are in church that have the same check boxes. No, if you're talking about excellence, hire professionals that this is what they do. They're going to give you real numbers, not pat a cake and they prayed before they gave it to you. And maybe the Lord told them, to not show you the true numbers of your biases. No, have unconscious bias workshops, have people of color that may not really be Christian, but that can give you some truth, that don't care to be honest and truthful. And so Vincent, thank you for being so open and honest. And it's time. And I know, I don't need to tell you, thank you. That is your right. But I just think, I hope there's time for our church to develop and evolve, but it needs to evolve, because it doesn't even speak to someone like myself or the lifestyle of my husband and I, because it's not inclusive. It's like, oh, thank you for coming, but don't get to know you. Hey, what is going on? Who are you ministering to? Can I be a part of that? And that's what our youth group used to be. We wanted to be Mimi, what are you doing? What concert are you going to go? What are you going to sing? What, your kids come, let them come to the office. It was involvement. We were involved in each other's lives. And that is inclusion, is when you can be honest and real and truthful and say, you know what? I was a jerk yesterday, but I've grown, or I've grown and I'm a jerk today because I'm pissed, and be okay and accepting people where they're at. And so, I don't know, I just feel so passionate about this, because I feel you, I hear you, and we experience racism. It's not our time right now. It is our time to be allies and understand the power of our Mexican people, our Hispanic people, of our Latin people, and how we need to support what is going on. Because, like you say, Janoy, we should know about slavery. That's not something that needs to be reminded, like, hello, are you that disconnected from your history and where you come from? So thank you, guys. And that,
can I
just
say
talking
something real
about
quick
your-
though, y'all? Can I share some? I'm just to piggyback off of what y'all were saying, just about just the corporate world and the church. And I just want to say, I want to quote something that John Gray said. And he said, there are a lot of white pastors who have Black people in their on their worship teams, but they don't have them in their leadership. That's one quote. And then he said, if you have 35 to 40% of a Black congregation and you don't address this, what you're saying is your presence is good, your culture is good, your tithe is good, but your pain is not. And I'm saying this because I have a lot of white pastors, and I've gone to a lot of multicultural churches. And I can tell you that a lot of my friend pastors and a lot of my church folks, including my own church and out in the community, have not even responded, haven't said a word. Why? Because they want to be neutral. It's not time to be neutral. So my frustration, I'm not going to lie to you, when I had to withdraw myself, because every time I was on social media, these 9 or 10 days, I felt like I was going off. And I was venting on social media. I really, really had to take some time to seek God seriously, because I was losing it. And I just don't understand why the church in the multicultural family, why you haven't reached out. Like, you guys need to speak up. It is time out.
Mimi? As you're finishing that thought, I've heard a couple people say the thing about like needing to take time to seek God and whatnot. And something very traumatic is surfacing now. And I'm not saying God does not have all power, but I am saying a lot of times when people talk like that, it sounds like we're on islands and we're like, oh, I've got to go find my sanity. That's out the window. And people are looking for normals, and 2020 has shown us there is no normal anymore. And so if your new normal is I'm pissed and I'm ready to call out white folk, for white crap for the rest of my life, then die on that sword, because you can't want them to speak up and you hold your tongue.
It's true.
And so I'm saying that to free you. Don't be, let me go see God so I can be the peaceful Black woman that they are used to me being, and then maybe they'll listen to me. It's over. Unless you have peace. If you have peace with that, then be that peaceful person. But if you're wrestling and warring and saying, oh, I can't, I'm not myself, I gotta go find myself, you're not yourself, because yourself has something to say. And you just need to open your mouth and say it.
I think I started struggling mentally. Seriously, like I really needed, because I have been on social media and I have seen, including people from the church, make comments, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I'm gonna start. By the time I finish, I won't have no friends, because I'm about to delete every last one of them. To be honest with you, I was going to deleting spree, but I'm like, well, why delete them? I'm like, but I've been unfollowed and all that, and I'm okay with that. But for me, mentally, I needed to breathe for a moment. So I took this morning off, and I'm like, you know what? I made that last post and I was off social media the whole day until we came on live. I am angry. I am disappointed. I am hurt. I am upset, especially at my friends, my church people who you say that you're a friend.
Absolutely.
Some of y'all haven't reached out. Some of y'all have not reached out, but let me tell you what you're doing. You clicking like on stuff. You posting selfies. You posting everything but what we're talking about right now. Enough is enough.
They're talking about it. Their silence is them talking about it, sis. They're showing you where they stand.
Mimi, someone called me this morning, and I just want to bring this point. So if nothing else, I think that equity, fair balance, and I'll play devil's advocate if I have to. But somebody called me this morning and they made, I think, what's a relevant point. And I don't think it's a justification, and I don't want to excuse them, but this is the point they made. They said, Janoy, you know, I love you, right? I was like, of course. We have a history, a long founded and deep relationship. And she said, I haven't really said anything about it because I thought my entire life that we had a relationship, and I knew you knew that. And the love relationship that we have is one that's, so it's brother and sister, it's deep. And so I think, and I'm not saying it's a large part, but I think there are a few people out there, Mimi and Vincent, that might be of the mind that are saying, like, I don't have to say to you what I think I've been showing to you since I've known you. And so for the other people who are listening, maybe you do need to place a phone call, send a text, put up a post so they know that you do care and you're concerned. But I wanted to bring that to your attention, Mimi. And I think she had a valid point. It might not be relevant to some people, but I think it's valid that she said, you know, I've loved you my entire life. And we know that about each other. So I don't think this is the moment why I tell you I especially love you. Every day I love you and I call you. Do you understand that?
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, if you just got that phone call today, I'm like, for me, I'm in a whole different, I'm gonna be honest. You just got that call today. This has been going on for how long? You should have got the call today.
No, hold on.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. We talk every day. When she called me this morning, she made that assertion. And I never thought, because we were having that discussion, I was like, you know, people feel upset that some people are silent. They haven't. And she said, you know, in my stance, it's as far as me and her relationship. We talk every day, and I know we love each other. So do I need to say a special I love you for now? And the answer is probably yes.
It's more of I hear you. Like, I've been received. When I get on 10, I get to stuttering and the ums and all that because I know I can, because I'm frustrated, right? So I can't really get anything out. But it's emotional. I'm tired. Like I'm hurt because of some of the people that I thought I was extremely close to have not even once shot a text message. So yes, it's upsetting. Yes, it's hurtful. I don't want no phone call today. This has been going on for a while now. I'm sorry. I don't want that. So yes, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with church. I'm frustrated with people at my church. I'm sorry. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And you know what? For a long time, I was silent. I'm not trying to be silent anymore. We've been silent for too long. You can't shut me up. I'm not going to shut up. I think for a long time, being a people pleaser, it was like, man, I don't want to upset this person. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to offend somebody. I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Guess what? Y'all been hurting us all along. I'm done. I'm done. That's it. I'm sorry, but I get what you're saying, Janoy. I appreciate you saying what you're saying.
No,
but at the same
I don't think you heard us. One part, just this one part of what I said. I was like, do they need to make the text, place the calls? The answer is yes. That's why I was like, I fully support your stance. But look, man, don't give the issue that much power. If those people haven't reached out and you feel like they should, if those people aren't treating you with the love that you know you should be getting, man,
Pull out.
dust that off. Yeah, you like for real
Yeah.
roll out, because what you can't do is let it immobilize you. You can't let it take you down into a state where you're no longer active, because the same anger that you have will turn into something that's dark, and it's the same power that they'll still have over you. So you need to get up and do something with that righteous anger, and just make sure everything you do is out of a love, whether it be a love for your family, your sons, your culture. Just make sure it's done out of love. But God did not charge you to keep people around you that don't appreciate you. You don't have to live with that cross. That's not why he died for you. He didn't go up there for that one.
Janoy, can I
would no
say something,
longer-
Mimi?
I would
He did.
hold on real quick there. So real quick, let me tag this. The messages that I have been receiving some messages, but let me tell you something. Those behind the curtain people who are not posting anything or saying anything, but yet you want to shoot a text or you want to try to call, but you haven't really acknowledged like out. You haven't. Like, I'm not receiving that either. I'm sorry, and I get what you're saying, John. I really appreciate that. My bad for bursting out. I'm telling y'all, it's been eating me up. And I guess because I have been reliving some things. What people don't realize is I have experienced racism in the church. I've experienced that myself personally in the church. Yeah, and I've had somebody who actually apologized to me for being in a meeting and not once said one word in that meeting, when this person who's a pastor, who literally kind of went off on me to, you no longer can wear ties. You no longer can wear jackets. You need to stand on the end from now on. You no longer can be in the middle. There was things like that happening. And I'm like, but I never said anything. I let that stuff build up. And now that all this stuff is coming out, it's like, wow, I'm reliving this stuff. And I think that's why I'm so hurt.
Vincent, I wanted to ask you a question earlier, Vincent.
Leah,
And
sorry.
I'm sorry, Vincent. I wanted to ask you a question. Go ahead, baby.
I just wanted to say something to that because, of course, I feel like, we're all angry. And like Janoy said, like, you can't let that have power over you. And, y'all might not like me, but I feel like we have to be careful to protect our posture, because we're requiring and asking a posture from someone else, and deteriorating our own posture or our heart. And Jesus already gave us the example. They persecuted him. They beat him. They killed him unjustly. And while he was dying, he prayed, Father, forgive him. And so we can't nitpick the Bible either. We can be hurt. We can be angry and sin not. And I think that's a self-check for us, because if we allow our posture to get so defeated and we lose our ability to actually have impact in this area. And so I know it's hard in the process of that, but the Bible is very clear on that as well. And we can't nitpick the Bible for our own pain and hurts, because we understood our pain. And so it's just something that I'm not saying is easy. But I'm saying, like, forgiveness has to, we can't expect people to change and have this heart change. And then now we're not in a posture to forgive them, even if it was genuine. Right. And so I just think that there's a check that has to happen on both sides.
Yeah.
And I think I really agree with that, Leah. I think the difference is, from my perspective, is that you can forgive and you can remove yourself from the situation if that trauma has taken place,
100%.
just so that you can heal without the triggering possibly happening again. And so I think that there's a balance in saying, I love you, I'm open to conversation, I'm willing to contribute whatever I can to help you figure out how to deal with this as an organization or whatever, but I can't put myself in that position anymore to receive that, because it's starting to collapse who I am as Christ has created me to be.
Yeah, and just to tag on Vincent, what I was gonna say, Mimi, is that, or Janoy, is that I'm in a place in my life, and I think maybe Mimi is kind of like in that same place. It's like you're always a friend, right? And I think at this point, even if you're not gonna post something, if they're your friend and they love you and they know that you care about this and they know that this is affecting your life, your children's life, your family and your relatives' lives, they should be just as passionate if they love you, right? We can be, like Leah said, have our composure, and you have your circles, right? You have your inner circle of people that love you and respect you. And then your other people that you go to work with and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, Mimi, you have poured so much into these people's lives that I think this is why feel so hurt and passionate about it, is because you have been open and real, and at the same time have to, shape yourself to meet someone else's standards or make someone else feel comfortable, where you're like, hey, I've made you feel comfortable and I've done all these things, and now you can't support me on this one thing that is affecting my sons, their kids. So I kind of agree with, even if you're not going to post something on social media, you should be doing, using your wisdom, your privilege, whatever it is, to bring about change, to bring about reform, to bring about educating other people and being involved in some sort of way. Because if you love me, if you are my friend, and we intercede together and we pray together, that burden or that hurt should be an importance to you. And that's kind of a bit of my problem. Now, if they're not posting anything and they're doing something that maybe we're not aware of, God, bless them, right? Yes. But at the end of the day, Janoy, I think at this time is about choosing either or, not social media. No, it's about choosing to love your friend enough, to care enough, to use your power, because everyone has a power. Everyone has a child of everything. Everyone is a child of God, and we're taught that our word has power. So use your word, use your actions, not just your prayer closet, because you don't know where to stand on this. And you're waiting on Twitter to tell you how to feel about it, or waiting on Facebook to tell you how to feel about it, or a letter from your pastor to give you the okay to post something about it or say something about it or be involved. No, this is your friend is hurting. Your family member is hurting. You need to be active, whatever way that means to you.
Now, and that's my perspective. That's why I'm coming from, Thirsa, is that we need to give people the freedom to act in a way that they can feel like they're a part of the show. Okay, so I'm just going to use me as a teacher, right? During the civil rights movements, there were some teachers that walked out of their job and went and marched and stood on the picket lines, and they were bitten and beaten by the cops, bitten by dogs, beaten by all of that. And then there were some teachers that said, I'm going to try to change this from the inside. There are some soldiers that throw grenades. There are some soldiers that carry guns. And then we send some spies so we can get intel. And so I just want us to be open to a variety of methods. Some people are trying to change this thing from the inside. Some people are trying to say, if we want real lasting, permanent change, let me go into the system, and try to implode it from the inside. And just because you can't hear them talking, and just because they're not yelling, because we're so busy yelling, I don't see how we can hardly hear anybody. And just because we can't hear them doesn't mean they're not acting. I just want us to make sure we're giving, like they said, it's the heart of God. It's the heart of God, and you have to give people that freedom so they can act to make a change. And we can't be upset if it doesn't look, because I'm gonna tell you what my mama will tell y'all. If she was still alive, she would be like, child, I don't know nothing about that Facebook. Child, I don't know nothing about that Insta. What is it called? The Instapot. I don't know nothing about that. So sometimes we're looking for things that people can't give you. They don't have access, exposure. And so let them do it. Let them do it. But I agree with y'all. Check them if they're not. check if
Yeah.
you know it's active. Come on, man, check
I'm
them
not
if they're
talking,
not.
of course, I'm not talking about those who don't have access. Let me just put, I'm not talking about those who don't
Yeah.
have access to social media. But I want to read what Kate said, and y'all can, anybody can chime into this. She says, those people that
Hold on,
stayed
wait,
silent.
Mimi, real quick. Leah was going to say something, and I'm curious to see.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Leah.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I
I
just
didn't see you.
It's okay. I just wanted to say this last thing because I 100% agree with everyone's frustrations, my own frustrations. I agree with what Janoy is saying. All I'm saying is like it's a lot of external energy. We can make these same arguments for all of the disciples. They were very close to Jesus. They all denied him. They all prayed with him.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So if you want to be about this walk for real, like it's with the cross you're carrying, and there's a lot of external energy to what other people aren't doing. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be doing because they should, and you can check them on those things. But we have to be careful that our energy is focused on our spirit and what we can do, and not giving too much credit to people who we know aren't always going to do right. We've known that through the history of this country. People will not do right in the name of Christianity. So all I'm saying, for your own health, you have to focus on the cross that you're bearing, and God has given us that example. His disciples denied him. They left him. He died alone. And that's just the reality of this Christian walk. And so I just don't want to get too carried away into like the external part of it, because it's horrible and you should check them, but check your heart and your own spirit in the process of this is all I wanted to say.
And I totally agree with you on that, Leah. Kate said, and there's two, from Jim. Jim says, but what if you're posting pics about food and random stuff and then not posting on the injustice? And then you have Kate, she said, those people that stayed silent all week could have signed petitions, read articles, donated, or witnessed to
go.
someone.
Yes.
Not everyone has to post on social media what is on their hearts. So I wanted to just give two of what, it's good.
And I think that's the cool thing about this whole situation is that everybody has different expressions of it, and everybody is having a different response. Some people are reacting, some people are responding, some people have to take time to process, especially, and this is what I was telling some friends of mine, they're professors, and we had a call yesterday, and I said, you have to put yourself in a white person that has never met black people, right? When we think that most white people will never meet a black person in their life, okay? That's something that one of our friends, Ryan Hazen, brought to my attention, that he didn't meet a black person until he was in college. And I'm a very communicative person. And so people that I respond, that they're in my circle, they know I'm ready to talk, and I'm ready to listen, and I'm ready to talk, and I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to read things and take things in and give things out. And when he said that, I realized that white people had a traumatic last couple of weeks as well. White people saw something that they're not used to seeing. They saw a white woman use her privilege and call the cops. The black man got away with the crime. Her dog was taken from her. Her job was taken from her. That's not how the story usually goes. And when you grow up with privilege, and you see privilege rejected, whether consciously or subconsciously, it starts to change your paradigm. The next day, as black people are experiencing trauma on a polar opposite end of it, they're seeing this white cop vilified for killing this black guy. A couple of days later, he's arrested. Now everybody else is arrested and they all have a bail. And these other white people are seeing their companies. They're upset about Target being raided. And the CEO of Target came out and said, I don't care about the store. The store can be rebuilt. We can't get George's life back. Let's make it about him.
Right.
And they're having this paradigm shift of wait. It's supposed to be about whatever I say it's about. It's supposed to be about when I wanted a haircut for COVID-19, it was about me. It was when I wanted to carry my AR-15 up to the Capitol, it was about me, and everything was about me. And now all of a sudden, the playing field is unlevel, and black people have a voice. And there are celebrities that I follow as a white person and companies that I follow as a white person that's all of a sudden aligning with this thing saying Black Lives Matter when I believe all lives matter. Now I can't shop at Target or Whole Foods or what. And they're going through a paradigm shift. And I can understand why many of them are quiet. Because you're sitting here realizing I've been an architect in a system that was against Black people when I thought I was an ally or a friend or a patron of Blacks. And I realized how much more I could have done. I totally understand how white people can be silent. And I've tried to kind of tell that to people that have been conversing with me, is that when, especially my white friends, when they call me, and Martin, I see you in here. Martin went to USC with me. Great guy. And we've had our disagreements about race. And we see each other on a different level now. And I'm grateful for you being a part of this. But I've been trying to tell people that just as visceral the reaction Blacks are having, white people are having that same thing. And because of their privilege, most of them are much more solutions oriented. And so they're some of them aren't about talk. Some of them aren't ready to just post to the gram for clout. Some of them are taking action without saying much because they don't know what to say right now.
Well, Vincent, do y'all remember the scene in Gone with the Wind? Baby, when the curtains was burning and Scarlett O'Hara came out that house and she was standing in front by that fountain just shell-shocked. She didn't know what to do. And the people was looking at her like, Miss Scarlett, the house gonna burn. You need to... What we need to realize is that, like, we're all in a burning house. And so, trauma presents itself. Psychology lets us know that trauma presents itself in different ways, and we all have different reactions to trauma. And so whether it be that I'm traumatized for the last 400 years or last week, or whether it be I'm traumatized because I see this paradigm shift and some of my stuff is about to be taken. Because I don't want y'all to get it twisted. Some people are looking at this and being like, they coming for my stuff too. That, like, the privilege that I love and that I held on to, they're about to come for my stuff too. And so that's a traumatic thing as well. And we need to allow people to be traumatized in the way that they so feel. But don't be upset if we also, out of our trauma, have reactions to your behaviors. And I think the problem that a lot of us have as far as Christians go in America is that our church is so interwoven with the capitalistic system here that you can hardly tell that it's Christian, it's Christianity how it's supposed to be, right? Like, we're making sure that our service is running away where tithes come in, offerings come in, the people come back, and whatever product it's pushed out. And that's never really supposed to be the purpose of the church. Look, as much as we don't like the founding fathers, even George Washington warned us about political parties. Way back in the Bible, Paul said, look, I need you to quit saying some of you are of Ananias and some of you are of Cephas and some of you are Paul. We are all of one church. And then you get to America and you have denominations, political parties, and it's all fueled by that same monster. So it's going to be really hard to, I think, make a real change in the church as far as it relates to this issue, because they've been thinking we've been doing it right the entire time. They're like, as long as I got King Jesus, that's all I need. And it's painful because I think everybody in here is probably a product of the church in some way. And I would like to believe that the people in my church, that they love us, and the people that we go to church with would choose to fellowship with us, because I know that we think we're all going to heaven, but I don't know what heaven we think we're going to go to because it's not sectioned off and segregated. So I'm really nervous about going to heaven. For the first time in my life, I'm nervous about going to heaven.
Vincent says, somebody give Janoy a TV show.
Just saying. Because if I get up there, they're going to kick me out, kinfolk. I don't know. I'm scared.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you scared of what?
I'm saying for the first time, what do we think it's going to be like? When I just imagine when you go to church, so just say, for instance, you go to an all-white church. You go to an all-Latino church, all Black. Because we all preach that we want to get there, right? We want to get to heaven to meet Jesus face to face. And And I was like, you might bump into me on your way to meet Jesus, Kinfolk, because I think it's gonna be like a black heaven and a white heaven and a Latino and an Asian heaven. I don't know if they break heaven up like the club. I don't think they do that. I think it's just heaven, and we all have to go. So for the first time, I'm nervous about going to heaven. I'm really being serious. I'm so for real.
You know, you are dumb. But anyways, I think I don't know if I think Leah lost connection, but it's okay because we're gonna be. This went long, but it's okay. I think this was great conversation. Really, really appreciate everybody for tuning in and for commenting and all that good stuff. Hold on, Tanya says people are gonna be shocked when they see what heaven looks like. True. Thank you guys so much. The first time I did this, we talked about, racism, which was last week. I was really, really overwhelmed by the response of messages I received in my inbox message, text messages, phone calls, and was asked to continue to do this. And so I will, but I do want to be a part of the solution. I'm all about us doing this together. Everybody knows that I'm all about diversity. So you will never see just all black folks up here. I'm just going to tell you, it's all about diversity. We have to do this together. And I do want to be the change that I want to see. I want to get out in the community. I think that if we start doing stuff that's, doing more than just, it's now time to take action. Now it's time to take action. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Y'all were awesome. I loved seeing y'all's faces.
Before we go, I know that Leah had asked for us to address the systematic issues. I know we don't have time, but if you guys go to either my profile or Mimi's profile, there's a great video that is very well broken down as to the differences and how all this happens. And so systematic differences is on our profile. So just go there. It's a great video. It's very, like I said, educate yourself. There's a lot of stuff out there for you to read and look at. Infographics and everything. It's awesome.
Perfect. All right. Love y'all. Take care. Have a great night. Peace out.
Love you, Mimi. Love everyone that was online. Thank you all,
Yes,
Rhonda.
it was great meeting you
good to
guys.
see you.
Thank you all
Vincent,
for
it was an
having me.
honor meeting you.
Love you.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.